I want to go over the difference between wants and needs, particularly in the context of someone who makes maybe 6 figures or more every single year, not in survival mode anymore, but we still want to differentiate between wants and needs because that's how we budget, or that's how we figure out how much money we want to save. And so the first thing I want to address right away is a lot of people want to kind of differentiate between wants and needs because they think if I provide for my needs and I cut back on my wants, then I'm able to save more money. And so I want to save money, and so in order to do so, I have to cut certain things. And so now all of a sudden I'm faced with having to prioritize what I want to cut. And certainly that's one way of doing things, but it's not very fun sitting there and thinking about all the things you enjoy and thinking about which one to get rid of in order to save more money. And so the reason why that is most people are confused about what wants and needs are. And it makes sense that there's this confusion because if you look at people who don't make a lot of money, maybe you make $20,000, $30,000 a year, you're basically in survival mode, right? You get by, right? You live paycheck to paycheck, you get by, but life is hard, life is tough. But at the same time, if you make $100,000, 48% of people that make $100,000 or more are also living paycheck to paycheck. And if you make any less than $100,000, you look at people like that and you're like, how can they still be living paycheck to paycheck? And the reason is because our needs change over time, right? Number one, as we get a family, have kids, our needs to take care of our family will change, and inevitably we will have to spend more money. But also, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when we have very little, we're thinking about our physiological needs, and then we're thinking about our safety needs, right? So these two form the foundation. When we're making a low income, we're just thinking about how do I put food on the table? We're just thinking about, can I have a roof over our heads, right? And so if we're in this situation, our priority is not to cut. Our priority is to figure out how to make more money. And so we want to get to a point where we're able to fulfill some of our social needs. Now we're going out with friends, and then we're fulfilling our esteem needs and self-actualization needs, right? Like we now have the breathing room to pick up a hobby that maybe doesn't make that much money. Maybe we're writing, maybe we're doing arts and crafts, maybe we're making YouTube videos and trying to start this online business, right? Like me being able to talk to you like this is actually a privilege, right? Because there's people that are trying to like work extra shifts to make ends meet, and they can't afford the luxury of building a YouTube channel over 5 years and building a business over 5 years, knowing that it's going to require initial investment. Okay, and so we have all these levels that all feel like needs, right? Because it's called the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So what do we do? How do we actually differentiate between wants and needs? Okay, my answer to that question is if you're at a point where you're trying to meet your esteem needs or your self-actualization needs, then we don't differentiate between wants and needs. Bear with me here. Number one, chances are, if you're going to splurge on something, you know it's a splurge when you give them your credit card or when you pay the cash or when you make the purchase. You know it's a splurge. You know you're like, I could spend less money on this, but I'm willingly choosing to do this. You know it's a splurge, okay? So in those situations, that's definitely a want. What about the more nuanced wants? What if I want a bigger home, right? What if I want a nicer car, right? Because at the end of the day, can you get by with a 1997 Honda Civic? Yes. Could you get by moving back home? Yes. Why don't you? Because our needs have changed. So how do you build wealth knowing that you will need more and more as you make more and more? The answer lies in figuring out the kind of future you want to have, number one. So how do you want to spend your time in the future? What kind of life do you want to live? By when, right? Is it 20 years? Is it 30 years? Is it 10 years, 15 years? What are you going to be doing? Will you still be making money, right? Like, will you have a source of income? Or is it just going to be stocks? And so that's number one. Number two is, well, how much money will you need? What's a conservative estimate of the amount of money you'll need to sustain the kind of life you want to live in your golden years, or in 10 years, or in 15 years? So for example, I've identified that for my wife and I, all we need is the equivalent to $3.5 million in today's money in order to retire quite comfortably, assuming our house is paid down when we get one, I guess, and we have no debt. essentially. So 3.5 million is the number. And then assuming 3.5 million is the number, how much money do I need to invest every single month? And what kind of real return or inflation adjusted return do I need to get there? Okay, so we figure that number out. And there are calculators. Just Google present value calculator or investment calculator online, read the instructions, and you can do this yourself. You can calculate the exact amount of money you need to be saving every single month in order to live the life of your dreams, right? And if it is the life of your dreams, then it should be worth living. Okay. And so for me, it's $2,000 a month. I have to save $2,000 a month to live the life of my dreams. That's it when I retire. Okay. And so as long as I save $2,000 a month, I know the rest of my life is taken care of. What does that mean? Well, it means with the rest of the money, I do whatever I want with it, right? It doesn't matter if things are a want versus a need, right? Like if I make $7,000, I save $2,000, I have $5,000 left, I do whatever I want with that money. If you make $20,000 and you save $2,000 and meets your goals and you have $18,000 left, you do whatever you want with the money. That's it. And so I don't want you to overthink this. Instead of thinking about like where to cut, which is a helpful exercise if you know you're overspending, don't get me wrong, but instead of thinking about like where to cut and trying to like penny pinch, what I want you to think about is just live the kind of life you would live if you were making a bit less money. That's it. Take on the mantle of a totally different identity. Don't live the identity of someone making $125,000 trying to live a $100,000 lifestyle. Live the lifestyle of a $100,000 per year income household or family or person. And that's it. Sustain that. And then as your income increases, you have a choice. Do you want a wealthier retirement or do you want to enjoy more of that money today? You always have a choice. Or do you want to save for your kids, right? So I'd say take care of yourselves first and then think about, oh, should I save up for my kids' education or down payment? And the reason why I say take care of yourself first is because I am the primary beneficiary of parents who did that for themselves. My parents were frugal and smart with their money. They saved their money in a way so that I didn't need to provide for them financially in their later years. As a parent myself, that is the best blessing that I can give my children, is the ability for them to live their own lives, for me to not rely on them in the future when I'm older. And so I think that's a good mentality to go off of. As you move forward, instead of thinking about the differences between wants and needs, just think about how much you need to save to reach your goal, and then everything else is fair game. Now, obviously, within that, there's an addendum, right? And so let's say you do have, I don't know, $18,000 a month left, or you do have $10,000 a month left. You then want to decide, if you want to be more specific, how much of that should be joint spending and how much of that should be your own spending between you and your husband or you and your wife. And so after you make that decision, then it's very clear, right? Then there are no money arguments, right? Because we're all just spending from our own pool of money and we've said that this is money for spending. And so there's no reason to not spend it whatsoever. You just have to sit down, think about how much you need to save that amount of money, and then whatever you have left, well then decide on an amount that you'd be willing to spend every single month on an individual basis and then on a joint basis. That's it. And then if you're really good, if you're really on the same page with your wife, then you don't even need that, right? You just have an amount of money left that you and your wife or you and your husband both spend together, and then even from that amount, you have some money left every single month, which is the situation that I am in right now. I save about 45 to 50% of my income, and then the 45-50% that is left goes to a bank account that my wife and I both spend from, and then there's money left at the end of the month in that bank account as well. Not a lot, but enough for us to save up for some of those big expenses like plane tickets or vacations or vaccines for the baby. That's it. It's not too difficult. Now, there are a few more nuances, right? Because everyone's situation is different as we work through building an automated wealth building system. And so reach out below, click on the link below, watch the video to kind of get the full picture of how to build this automated wealth building system. And then after watching that video, if you're interested, reach out to me on Instagram and I'll send you more information and we'll go from there. Have a nice day.